The story unfolds with a young girl named Wisteria begging in the streets. She pleads with passers-by, informing them of her status as a peasant who has lost her parents. Furthermore, she makes them know that she can only survive through their mercy, trying to convince them to look upon her wretched self and spare her some change, so she doesn't have to starve to death. Unfortunately, her wounds are unyielding as the people continue to walk past her, paying no attention to her or the words she speaks. Meanwhile, her inability to get the people to give her some money causes the father in charge of her well-being to be very angry. He beats her up for only managing to get 6 pence the whole day. With an income like this, he considers her to be absolutely worthless. Since he's saddled with the responsibility of feeding her, he expects her to do more, further stating that he doesn't run a charity. In anger, he hits her dinner off the table, and the liquid splashes on her. Just then, he leaves her angrily. When Wisteria gets up, she picks up her bread and takes a bite, irrespective of how dusty it might be. With the father gone, Wisteria gets to explore her thoughts. She remembers a window on the farthest side of the attic where she can knock 3 times and get visited by her demon friend, Marbas. When Marbas arrives, Wisteria is excited to see him. However, their reunion is interrupted by father returning to scold her for not sleeping, since she has to wake up early the next day. Just then, he threatens to beat her once again if she doesn't make money the next day. Surprisingly, while this is going on, Marbas stands aside, watching. The father is unable to see him since he is a demon. However, Wisteria possesses a unique ability that makes her able to see demons. Marbas had figured this out a month ago while walking in the streets. At the time, he was bored and tired of his immortal existence. Just then, he saw Wisteria begging at the spot where she normally does. While doing so, she is hit by a man and her day's earnings spill all over the floor. Watching her, Marbas feels bad for her and wonders if she plans to continue begging until she dies. At a point, he realizes that no one can actually see or hear him, and he wonders why he's taking out his frustration on the girl. Surprisingly, Wisteria continues to stare at him, making him figure out that she could see him. This shocked him to his bones. Later that night, he followed her to her house, curious to know how she could see demons. To this, she explains about being able to see demons since she was a child. Just then, she asks if he has come to take her soul, but he reveals the fact that he had only come because he was fascinated by a human who could see him. Back to the present, Wisteria begs Marbas to tell her a story just before she sleeps, since she is confident about having any good dreams that night. In response, Marbas tells her not to blame him if she gets beaten the next day for not waking up early. She, however, doesn't care as his stories have grown to become the only thing that she looks forward to every day. Furthermore, his stories make her feel like she's traveling and experiencing them herself. This prompts him to go ahead with telling her a story, like she had asked. On the other hand, 2 demon hunters known as Sword Cross Knights arrive in London and are attacked by a demon. Fortunately, they take out the demon before it is able to harm them. Apparently, they had come in search of a high-level demon. Upon close observation, they realize that the demon they had just killed is nowhere close to the demon they seek. With this realization, they are prepared for the next demon they will face. Meanwhile, Marbas has just finished telling Wisteria a Shakespearean story, which she finds to be very interesting. After hearing them, she feels it would be more thrilling when being acted out in the theater. Marbas, however, doesn't feel the same, since he has seen a lot of them, and believes they do not live up to their reputation. Hearing him say this gets Wisteria angry, forcing her to ask if he has any friends, seeing that he doesn't understand people's feelings. Furthermore, she feels he hasn't been able to communicate with others since they can't see him. To answer the question, Marbas transforms into a human, stating that all humans can see him when he is in human form. However, he doesn't use that form since it's nerve-wracking and exhausting, most notably amongst the ladies, whose desire to go after him is aroused by his human form. Just then, he changes back into his demon form and prepares to take his leave. Before leaving, he promises to be back again, and Wisteria thanks him for giving her something to look forward to. This happened to be because she had always hated her eyes, since she could see things that nobody else could. However, her ability to see him has recently made her treasure her eyes. On his way back home, Marbas wonders why he keeps coming back to visit Wisteria, but has no definitive answer to the question. The next morning, while Wisteria is having her breakfast, the father informs her that she now has a buyer. When he sees how shocked she reacts to the news, he thinks she is foolish for assuming that begging would be enough to keep her fed. At that moment, he reveals that he had only done that to show her off, since his job had always been to take in and feed orphans until they are clean enough to be sold. However, he claims that Wisteria is lucky since she is being bought by a wealthy man, giving her the chance to live a decent life. Just then, he lets her know that she would be handed over to her new owner the next day. That night, she meets with Marbus and informs him about what her father had told her. Hearing this, Marbus remains calm at the realization that the father is a slave trader. At that point, Wisteria narrates how the incident seems identical with that of her lost brother, who was also taken away when she was much younger. At first, she had been told that he had been taken to a mansion to work as an attendant, but that was all a lie. This she found out when she went around asking for the supposed mansion, only to be told by everyone she asked that it did not exist. Not wanting to suffer the same fate as her brother, Wisteria begs Marbus to take her away. As much as she expected him to hear her cries, he declines, stating that doing so would go against a code that demons follow. Apparently, saving a human without paying a price would cause a demon's body to retaliate and start to crumble. Since being taken away didn't seem like an option, Wisteria begs him to take her soul. She reminds him of a rule which states that a human can give his or her soul to a demon in exchange for a wish. Desperate not to be enslaved, she pleads earnestly for Marbus to take her soul, especially since the only person who was important to her, her brother, has been taken away. At that moment, Marbus lets her know the real reason why demons take souls. This happens to be because they get to add the souls they have taken to their own lifespan, giving them the chance to live so much longer than normal. However, Marbus states that she is unable to do so because he is already immortal. With no other means of escaping this reality, Wisteria accepts her predicament as it is. The next day, just like the father had said, Wisteria is dressed up and taken to meet her new master. Meanwhile, Marbus continues to be disturbed and feels uncomfortable about leaving Wisteria on her own. While he ponders upon his choice of not assisting her, he hears the voice of two men banging on the door of the orphanage Wisteria had just been taken from. Looking there, he sees the two men and recognizes them as the sword-crossed knights. On the other hand, the knights relentlessly bang the door, waiting for the father to open up. When the father eventually opens up, he rebukes them for banging on the door, stating that the building is a holy church. Seeing the father, one of the knights named Snow, he gives off a deceitful smile. Meanwhile, Wisteria arrives at her new home. Her owner welcomes her, assuring her that she is now his child. Just then, he offers to take her to her new room. When she gets in, she sees that it is filled with torturing devices and equipments of all sorts. Before she gets the chance to turn towards the door, her new master closes the door and locks it. While this is going on, Snow grabs the father aggressively, demanding to know about a demon which they had tracked all the way to the church. But the father doesn't seem to have an idea of what they are seeking. Angrily, Snow punches him, threatening to shut down his illegal business if he doesn't give them the answers they desperately need. For fear of having his well-thought-out illegal business of selling children stopped, the father agrees to talk. Just then, he tells them about Wisteria and the fact that she always spoke to herself every night. When Snow seeks to know where the girl is, he informs them that she has been sold off to a rich lord. However, the lord was a freak who enjoyed torturing kids. Hearing this angers Snow further, forcing him to punch the father in the face. The words of the father hit Marbus differently, as he wastes no time in heading to the rich lord's house, hoping to save Wisteria. However, when Marbus uses his demon power to transport himself to the house, his presence is sensed by Snow and his partner. Meanwhile, the rich lord approaches Wisteria and tries to grab her, but she slides away at his attempts. Scared, she runs, pushes him away, and runs out of the room, heading straight to the door in a bid to escape. Unfortunately, her attempt is disrupted as she slips and falls before reaching the door. Then the rich lord catches up with her, grabbing her by the hand and ready to begin her torture. Fortunately, Marbus arrives just in time to stop him. However, he arrives in his human form and offers the rich lord a bag of coins, hoping this will save Wisteria from the rich lord's brutal imagination. Seeing the bag of coin, the rich lord is unmoved and determined not to let her go. Shortly after, Marbus coughs out blood, signaling the beginning of his body's retaliation for his act of helping a human. In order to help her friend, Wisteria bites the rich lord, freeing herself from his grip. Then she runs towards Marbus, who, seeing that she is about to be caught by the rich lord, uses his powers to swing him away. Now, close to him, Wisteria seeks to know why he chose to do this despite the consequences. In response, he reveals his intentions of wanting to have a future together with her. Their conversation is interrupted by another demon whom the rich lord had made a pact with. Due to Marbus's weak state, he is unable to fight effectively. In order to save him, Wisteria decides to make a pact with him using her eyes as collateral. This gives Marbus the strength he needs, causing him to transform back into his demon form. Seeing Marbus in this form, the demon scaredly recognizes him as one of the 13 calamities. Angrily, Marbus blasts the demon away. After that, and while carrying Wisteria in his arms, he informs her of his plans to see the world with her. However, as she is unable to do so due to the fact that she has just sacrificed her eyes, she wishes to see the world through his eyes instead. With this in mind, Marbus wonders where their first destination would be. Did you enjoy this recap? If you did, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you the recap of the next episode. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.